All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm gonna give my thoughts on Trump being indicted. Now, Trump being indicted, that doesn't mean that he's gonna be convicted. Doesn't mean that he's going to jail. We gotta wait and see how all of this plays out. But in my opinion, whether you want him locked up or you don't want him locked up, it's undeniable that they have been trying to make an example out of this man. They have been gunning and trying to get this man for the past, ever since he became the president in the first place. They have been going after him guns blazing, using the media, using, federal agencies. They have made him the biggest target on the left to the point where people just want to see him hung. They don't care if he really did something criminal. They don't care. They just want to see him gone. They want to see him prosecuted. They want to see him in jail. People fetishize and fantasize about him being in jail. And here's a clip. Let's roll it.
Impeach him first and then indict him.
Yes, the president, a sitting president, can be indicted.
Even if the president were to somehow find some way to terminate Mueller, the indictments would continue to grind.
You could impeach anybody on anything. You can try and indict.
He is not functioning as the president of the United States. Frankly, if he ever gets indicted, he'll have insanity as a defense, I suppose, from a criminal charge. But it's hardly, this is a serious matter.
You're starting to hear people talk about the possibility that Donald Trump leaves office in 2 years and then finds himself in the crosshairs of these New York prosecutors.
This sitting president can and should be indicted.
President, there for sure is more than likely going to serve some jail time.
It's clear that Trump is the target and he'll be indicted eventually.
On the day Donald Trump leaves office, the Justice Department may indict him.
Now there is talk of jail time for the president.
That Mueller could indict the president for obstruction of justice.
Donald Trump should be indicted for calling a cooperating witness a rat.
He should have been indicted.
The sitting president can be indicted by the Justice Department.
Why aren't we at the target, Trump, having committed crimes to get the presidency? So why aren't we at an indictment yet?
I think there's generally consensus the president has probably committed indictable crimes.
It's very strongly in favor of indicting the president when he is out of office.
That there may be enough evidence to indict Trump.
Is Donald Trump going to be indicted?
Maybe it'll happen. Maybe he'll go to prison.
Will he ever see the inside of a prison cell?
DA could get a ham sandwich indicted. Hey, listen, Trump's the Big Mac.
Even if Donald Trump himself is not ever indicted, there is another way that prosecutors can actually indict the entire Trump org.
Why not pursue it and see what happens?
Merrick Garland, if you indict Trump, you'll be my person of the year, of the decade.
The only thing worse than indicting him would be not indicting him.
Would be folly not to indict them.
Donald Trump is an ordinary citizen and is committing crimes right now.
I like the idea of Mark Meadows going to jail for the rest of his life, but I still think that the committee has laid out that the person on top of all of this, in charge of all of this, doing all of this, was Donald Trump.
I think now for him not to indict, frankly, would cause this country more harm than even if he indicts and there's a hung jury or not a successful conviction.
I don't think we should be treating him the way other ex-presidents were treated.
I think the extent of what Donald Trump's done is so egregious that no attorney general, no fair-minded attorney general would have any choice. According to The Atlantic, Garland is preparing to indict Trump despite moving at the cautious pace of an institutionalist.
The only reasons Trump hasn't been indicted by now is because he's a former president and because he has hand-picked judges on his side.
Accountability for some people means that we get a pound of flesh from Donald Trump and that he ends up behind bars.
Don't you think it's about time for special counsel Jack Smith to just indict Trump?
So you've seen the clip, and that's the proof that they have been fixated with him in his every single move ever since he became the president in 2016. Now, my question to people who want to see him in jail so bad is, do you want to see people on the left in jail who have done the exact same things that they're accusing him of doing? Do you want to see justice applied to the people who you support and the people who are going after him? It's fascinating to me that after years of going after him, he's been impeached 2 times, had several allegations slammed against him. He's always being bombarded with some sort of accusation of being this, being that, or doing this or doing that. The one thing that they're finally able to indict him over is the Stormy Daniels hush money case. Now, I'm going to say it like this. In my opinion, Trump messed up. When you're a rich and successful man with power and influence, the one thing that will always come back to haunt you or bite you in the behind is messing around with no good women. And it's quite ironic. Trump gets indicted. This is big breaking news. And then a few days later or a day later, Andrew Tate is released from prison in Romania. Both two men with huge influences, and it's things that they did with women that came round to bite them in the butt. Now, Donald Trump hasn't exactly been taken down just yet. We got to see how all of this plays out. But prior to this happening, prior to him being indicted, he was already the most revered person on the right, the most looked up to person on the right when it comes to politics. The Republican Party is Trump's party. He managed to transform it and really plant some very strong seeds within it. And Trump has been mentioning all along how the left and Democrats have been going after him relentlessly. He's mentioned it, and I mean, we've even seen it. We've seen it with our own eyes. So him being indicted just affirms a lot of the things that he said and that he's been talking about for a very long time. So if anything, unless something really damning comes out that makes him look bad, I don't see anyone switching sides or, hopping over the fence and abandoning him over this. And people who aren't too political, maybe in the middle of the aisle, just an observer of what's going on in the world, after seeing how terrible of a job Joe Biden has been doing, maybe this will even swing them on the Trump side because, again, a lot of what he said being affirmed. Because let's be honest, the entire American public isn't dumb. There are plenty of people who understand that politics is a very corrupt game and that there have been many corrupt practices and, things like that going on long before Trump has come into office. But the fact that this is the first president ever to face criminal charges, it'll lead a skeptic to think certain things. It'll lead a skeptic to think, why him and why now? But with all that being said, I'm no expert on law. So we got Jack Posobiec here kind of breaking down exactly why Trump is being indicted. So let's take a look at this video.
Not a trained lawyer, but I talk to lawyers all the time. Believe me, all the time. We have the best lawyers around here, the very best. So I call up the criminal defense lawyers and I say, what is this? What are they actually charging him with? How is this a felony? How is this not just a misdemeanor or that you could, you get a fine, you do some kind of deal, make it go away? Because we know that Hillary Clinton just last year paid a fine for failing to file the records for the Steele dossier as political payments. Because, of course, the Steele dossier was political payments. Obviously, it was opposition research that was then turned into an investigation at the federal level of her political opponent at the time, Donald J. Trump. Obviously, she lied. What did she have to do? She had paid a fine. Okay. Called it legal services when she hired Perkins Coie. Perkins Coie then subcontracted out to Fusion GPS. They went to Orbis, which was Christopher Steele. We know the rest. Paid a fine. Just last year, by the way. Settled the whole thing. Out of court. Funny enough. But in this one, federal investigators took a pass on it already. They said, we're not interested. So what happened? They claim that funds paid from Michael Cohen to Stormy Daniels constituted a business fraud because they were written from President Trump to Cohen as legal services. When they claim, which, by the way, this has not actually been proven in court and something they're going to have to try to prove in court based on the testimony of Michael Cohen, which is just going to be hilarious. And by the way, since this is the state level, I don't think anyone said this yet, because this is a state level trial and not federal level. You know what that means, right? The whole thing's going to be on TV. Every second of it is going to be on TV. State trials are televised, federal or not. So guess what? The trial of the century is upon us. We'll see. We'll see if it gets to that point. It might get thrown out. But so Michael Cohen says it wasn't legal services. It was hush money. And he pled guilty, took a plea deal. So even then, it would still just be a misdemeanor. So how do you raise it to a felony? Well, if you file business documents fraudulently to conceal a crime, to conceal criminal behavior, then you can raise it to a felony. Okay, so what's the criminal behavior? They claim that the funds were paid to Stormy Daniels in a legal proceeding, in a legal settlement, that would have benefited his campaign, and that by benefiting his campaign, they should have been a political payment, even though it was a personal situation between Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump. Had nothing to do with the campaign. And unlike the John Edwards situation, and John Edwards was actually charged with a similar crime, his was paid for by a donor. This wasn't paid for by a donor. This was paid by Donald Trump. And in the John Edwards case, he was charged at the federal level, and he was acquitted, and the rest of the charges were dropped. So to look at this case, you really have to wonder, why did somebody pick this? Because remember, DA Alvin Bragg said in writing to Jim Jordan earlier this week that there was a false expectation. He said there was going to be no, wait, hold on. Producer Angelo and producer Meach say that we've just received some unleaked audio from Bragg's office. Let's play the audio. Play this unleaked audio. We need to get this out immediately.
Bobby, where the pudding swirl? You said there was one in the cooler. I don't see it. Go for Alvin. Oh, Mr. George, what's that? But I thought you said to drop it. Oh, I see. No, that Nashville thing did not go right at all. To which one? The Stinky Daniels? Find the votes? Well, it wouldn't be the first time I found the votes. Hold on, I'm getting another call. Oh, Mr. Klaus, yeah, I'm talking to him right now. Just to be clear, the deal was I get one night with Stinky, right? I get Stinky. You get Trump. Consider it done, Mr. Klaus. Mr. George, I understand. First we get him in, then we do him like Jeffrey. All right, I'm on it. Bobby, the swirl.
So yes, of course, that comes through our pre-creation portal that was not for sure leaked audio. That was unleaked audio. So we created that here at Human Events Daily. But the question that I have, and I'm trying to answer there using satire and humor, is what changed? What changed in the DA's office? Why are they bringing this case now when they said they weren't going to? It felt like even earlier this very week that they were not going to. They said they didn't have the votes. What changed? Was it Nashville? Was it everything else that's going on? Or was it the realization that you don't have any other choice?
All right, guys, that's it for the video from Jack Posobiec, and I think it's very interesting, like he mentioned, if this video does go to trial, it's taking place on the state level, so that means it'll be televised, just like the Kyle Rittenhouse trial where everything was televised and you had, everybody weighing in, giving their opinions on it because the whole thing is on TV. I don't know if they actually think these charges will stick, if they can really get him thrown in jail for a long period of time, but that might not even be the goal here. Sometimes it's just about embarrassing somebody. Sometimes it's just about putting someone on trial for everyone to see. That may be their whole aim, to ask very embarrassing personal questions, to bring him down a notch, to dehumanize him, because like I mentioned earlier, people on the right, he's very revered. We look up to him as a leader. A lot of people on the right think he was a great leader, me included. I think he was a great leader, and I definitely think he was a much better president than the one we have now. But, it might not even be about getting him thrown in jail for a long time. They might just want to make an example of him. You know what I'm saying? And this could be a way to do it. Also, it's going to take place in New York. Him getting indicted, that happened in New York. So you got to question the grand jury. You got to question the DA. You got to question the judges appointed. I don't think he will have a fair shake at this. Absolutely not. I mean, he's in the cesspool of enemy territory, being in New York, having his trial in New York. But we got to see how this all plays out. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe when you're at the door. Let me know what you thought about this in the comments down below. And until next time, you guys, I'm out of here. Peace.